There are some biblical secrets that, if understood today, can make you prosper and attract great wealth. But be careful. Wealth without God's approval is a recipe for destruction. Money doesn't change anyone's character. It only amplifies who you already are. If you are a person of God, generous, who likes to help others, then you will be empowered in that. But if you are arrogant, greedy, and selfish, that will also be amplified. I sincerely hope you are a good person and can attract wealth to fulfill God's will in this world. The Bible is not just a book of ancient stories or a religious manual. It is a practical guide of wisdom, discipline, and mindset. Behind every prosperous character mentioned in it, there is a pattern of behavior, a way of thinking, and a deep understanding of the purpose of wealth. When the Bible talks about money, the topic is never treated superficially. There is always context, a purpose, a mission, and that is precisely where many people lose connection with prosperity. They desire money but do not understand why it should exist in their lives. The first key to attracting wealth, in the light of biblical teachings, is a mindset of purpose. Every person who became wealthy in Scripture had a mission. None of them accumulated just for the sake of it. They were resource managers, visionaries, generous, and for that, they received even more. The problem with the poor mind is that it desires money only to escape pain, scarcity, shame, or comparison. But the rich mind understands that true prosperity lies in generating value, being useful, contributing, transforming, serving. Think of Joseph, sold by his own brothers, thrown into prison, forgotten by those he helped. Yet even so, he never lost faith, never lost discipline, never abandoned excellence. When the time came, he became the governor of Egypt and managed the greatest economy of the ancient world with wisdom. But Joseph's wealth was not only financial. He had clarity, self-control, responsibility, and above all, a purpose greater than himself. And here's something you need to do before continuing. If you truly want to unlock your mindset and attract wealth, hit the like button. But only do it if you really want to prosper for real. Say this out loud now, even if you're alone. I am ready to prosper. That is the first step, to affirm with conviction, to decide with the mind. And if you want to strengthen it even more, write in the comments, "My purpose will attract my wealth." It's important to understand that money without purpose is lost. Money without direction turns into destruction. See the example of the people of Israel, who when they left Egypt, left with gold, silver, and a promise. But because they didn't yet have the right mindset, they used some of that gold to build a calf, a false image that represented their insecurities and their need for control. That shows that even with resources, if the mind is still poor, the person will waste everything on worthless things. On the other hand, Solomon asked for wisdom. He could have asked for riches, but he understood that if he had wisdom, all other things would follow as a consequence. And they did. Riches, honor, fame, peace, and a prosperous reign. Because wealth obeys the one who is ready to manage it. And if you still don't see prosperity in your life, maybe it's because you haven't yet become someone prepared to receive it. God doesn't waste blessings. He pours them out on those with a ready mind, a clean heart, and aligned intentions. Now think, what is your relationship with money like? Do you see it as an enemy, as something dirty, or as a tool for fulfillment? Many people quote phrases like, "Money is the root of all evil," but they forget that the full phrase is, "The love of money is the root of all evil." That is, the problem is not money itself, but the way it is treated, the attachment, the obsession, the idolatry. Prosperous people know that money needs to circulate, it needs to flow, it needs to be multiplied with responsibility. Abraham was extremely wealthy. He had livestock, servants, land, gold, silver, but at no time did he let wealth separate him from his faith, his family, or his principles. He understood that everything he owned was to fulfill the purpose God had given him, and because of that, he kept receiving more and more, because he was a channel, not a well, a flow, not a deposit. So here's a powerful principle. Stop wanting money just to solve your problems. Start desiring to be prosperous to solve the problems of the world. Expand your purpose. Dream bigger. Think beyond your debts, bills, or personal desires. True prosperity begins when you understand that you have a mission greater than survival, and when you live with purpose, money starts to come as a natural consequence of that mission. Many with a poor mindset cannot prosper because they still see money as something that others have. The rich are lucky. It's not for me. But when you enter a new mindset, you understand that everything starts within you. No biblical character became rich by chance. All were molded from the inside before receiving on the outside. This means that before you see change in your finances, you need to change your interior, your habits, your thoughts, your words, your daily decisions. David, before becoming king, was just a shepherd, but what made him a king wasn't the crown. It was his attitude when no one was watching. The way he cared for the sheep, how he protected the flock, how he respected his mission. That is prosperity, doing things well even when they seem insignificant, being faithful in little, being excellent in the hidden, because God observes character before releasing resources. So if you truly want to attract wealth, start cultivating your inner self. Clean your mind of limiting beliefs. Stop repeating scarcity phrases. Replace them with affirmations of abundance. Say every day, I am a channel of prosperity. My mind is ready to receive wealth. Money comes to me because I know what to do with it. These affirmations aren't magic. They're mental programming, and everything that is programmed frequently becomes reality. In the next chapters, we will dive into each biblical secret to attract wealth. We will understand what each prosperous character did, how they acted, how they thought, what they avoided. And you'll realize that the Bible is full of practical wisdom about money, not mystically but rationally, not religiously but functionally, because God didn't create humans to live in misery. He created them to govern, manage, multiply, expand, and bless. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you is changing. Stay with me on this journey. Your mind will never be the same. And remember, wealth doesn't start in your pocket. It starts in your thinking. Transformation begins in the mind. That is the starting point. And when we talk about prosperity based on the Bible, we need to understand that most of the people who achieved wealth there went through internal training first. They didn't receive wealth immediately. They were shaped, tested, developed. And the reason is simple. An unprepared mind destroys any wealth received. In the first chapter, we talked about Joseph, Solomon, Abraham, and the people of Israel. And now we will go even deeper into this dynamic. Why did God allow these people to have wealth? What was special about them? What did these people understand that maybe you haven't fully grasped yet? The answer lies in mental positioning. The Bible doesn't deliver prosperity to those in a hurry, but to those with purpose. If you observe closely, you'll see that all the great examples of biblical wealth began with scarcity, challenges, persecution, or losses. But none of them remained in scarcity because their mind was constantly evolving. In other words, it doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is where you're going, and especially how you are training your mind to get there. Let's look at Job, a man who lost everything: family, possessions, health, dignity, and even so he kept his faith and integrity. Job didn't curse life, didn't give his mind over to despair, didn't cultivate resentment. And in the end, his life was restored double. That shows one of the hardest and most transformative truths about wealth. Sometimes it comes after pain, not because God wants people to suffer, but because it's in pain that many shape character, purify pride, and cleanse their minds of illusions. Job could only manage twice as much because he was no longer the same man who began his journey. This applies to you too. Maybe you're experiencing scarcity right now. Maybe your financial life is stuck, and everything seems difficult. But this phase may be training your mind to manage much more. It may be cleansing your emotions, your ego, your false expectations. Because as you'll see, true wealth isn't just a full bank account. It's a clean, strong mind free from constraints. And this brings us to another essential point. What is money to God? Money is a tool, a means, an instrument. It has never been the end. It serves to advance projects, feed families, build dreams, sustain causes, and expand missions. Every time someone became rich in the Bible, there was a purpose attached to that wealth. And here's something you need to reflect deeply on. What do you want money for? If the answer is simply to pay bills, to have a better life, to stop suffering, understand, these are valid desires, but still limited. They don't activate the deeper dimension of prosperity. To activate this dimension, you need to connect your wealth to your purpose. You need to desire prosperity to accomplish something greater, to make an impact, to leave a legacy, to transform the reality around you. Consider the case of Nehemiah, a man who was neither king nor priest nor prophet, but a servant in a palace. Upon learning of the destruction of Jerusalem's walls, he felt a heavy heart. He had no resources of his own, but he had vision. And vision, when aligned with purpose, attracts resources. He prayed, planned, asked for authorization, and was sent with letters of support and material resources to rebuild the city. Nehemiah understood that wealth is not what you have, but what you build. And that changed everything. And what Nehemiah did, you can do too. Turn your vision into action. When you begin to see money as an ally to your purpose, it will begin to come to you in unexpected ways. Because God doesn't release prosperity to those who only think of themselves, He releases it to those who are willing to be a channel. The secret is this: be a channel, not an end. Be a means of blessing, not just of accumulation. The more you become a bridge for good, the more resources will flow through you. Many people block their own prosperity because of mistaken beliefs. They think being rich is wrong, that being prosperous is greedy, that desiring more is a sin. But the truth is that poverty, when it's the result of mental neglect, is what becomes a problem. Because poverty prevents a person from contributing. It prevents them from having time, freedom, and peace. It prevents them from investing in themselves, from evolving, and from serving others with excellence. Money is an extension of your inner self. If you fear it, it moves away. If you see it as something dirty, you repel it. If you blame it for the world's ills, you unconsciously avoid it. But if you understand that it is neutral, that it is merely an amplifier of what already exists within you, then everything changes. Good people with money do good on a large scale. Smart people with money transform the world around them. Jesus spoke extensively about stewardship, about talents, about seeds that multiply, about servants who care well for what they receive. In several parables it's clear: those who manage little well receive much, but those who neglect it lose even what they have. This means that the first test of prosperity is with little. It's in the now. It's in what you have today. How do you care for your home, your time, your energy, your words? If you say you want millions but can't manage 100 Rs responsibly, your mind isn't ready yet. If you say you want financial freedom but aren't disciplined even with what you already have, you still need to evolve. The problem isn't a lack of opportunities. It's a lack of internal preparation. And here's a practical suggestion. Every day affirm with conviction: I am becoming someone ready to manage great wealth. I am responsible. I am disciplined. I am a multiplier of resources. Say this with faith, with clarity, with intention. The more you say it, the more your mind begins to connect with this new reality. Another biblical secret that few realize is the power of gratitude. Every time Jesus performed a miracle, before anything else he gave thanks. Before multiplying the loaves, he gave thanks. This teaches us something powerful. You never multiply what you despise. If you constantly complain about what you have, you're sabotaging your own prosperity. But if you begin to be grateful for the little, you create the perfect environment for much to come. Gratitude changes your inner vibration. It transforms your focus. Instead of looking at what's missing, you begin to appreciate what already exists. And this generates expansion. Ungrateful people live stagnant lives. Grateful people live in movement. And prosperity is movement. It's flow. It's constant expansion. To conclude this section, I want you to reflect. How have you treated the money you already have? How do you talk about it? How do you think about it? Are you grateful? Do you manage it wisely? Do you prepare every day to receive more? Remember, God is not against you having money. He is against money having you. When you master money, you grow. When money masters you, you lose yourself. So repeat now, out loud, with faith: I am responsible for the money I receive. I am grateful. I am prosperous. My mind is ready to grow. Say this with strength, and if you want to make it even stronger, say, I am a multiplier of wealth. This will further cement this new mindset within you. Now that you understand that money is a tool and not the ultimate goal, it's time to delve even deeper into the mental framework that underpins true prosperity. Because biblical wealth isn't just about high numbers in an account, but about the structure of consciousness capable of transforming resources into results and results into purpose. Most people still believe that money is something that comes from outside. They think it's a blessing that falls from the sky, or something that can only be earned through hard work. And while effort has its value, the Bible teaches something deeper. It all begins with your inner state. In other words, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And for money to come to you in a lasting and blessed way, you need to become someone capable of carrying it without losing your balance. Let's return to the example of David. Before becoming king, he was rejected by his own family. When the prophet went to anoint a new king, his father didn't even call him. It was as if he didn't exist. But while everyone looked at outward appearances, God looked at the heart. What did David do while he was ignored? He cared for the sheep with excellence. He composed songs for God. He protected the flock as if it were his noblest mission. And there, in that anonymity, he was being trained to reign. David didn't need to chase the crown. The crown chased him. This teaches us that prosperity isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by who you become. And this applies to everything: money, opportunities, relationships, growth. When you align with your purpose, doors open naturally. When you live with integrity, God's favor follows you. When you are consistent, abundance finds a way to enter. Now reflect. Who are you becoming while you wait for your prosperity to arrive? Are you developing or just complaining? Are you planting or just demanding? Are you evolving or just surviving? Wealth is a consequence of daily building a strong mindset. And a strong mindset isn't built solely with motivational phrases, but with discipline. Therefore, one of the most overlooked biblical secrets is constancy. Rich people in the Bible weren't fickle. They remained steadfast even when nothing seemed to be happening. They did what had to be done day after day without expecting applause, without seeking approval. And this is what differentiates those who prosper from those who only dream of prosperity. Another powerful character in this regard is Isaac. In the midst of a time of famine, when everyone was giving up, he remained on the land and planted. And that same year, he harvested 100-fold. Do you know what this means? That no matter the external environment, if your mind is aligned with the right principle, the harvest will come. Even when everyone is losing, those who have an alliance with purpose prosper. Isaac wasn't guided by fear, but by direction. And you need to start doing the same. Stop waiting for the situation to improve before taking action. Start acting with excellence in the situation you have today. Plant, even if the soil seems dry. Serve, even if no one notices. Build, even if it seems small. Because it is in the invisible that true prosperity begins. Another essential biblical key is the word obedience. This isn't about religious rules, but about a covenant with principles. Every time someone in the Bible obeyed a principle, they reaped prosperity. Every time they ignored it, they reaped consequences. And the principles of wealth are simple, yet powerful. Discipline, generosity, diligence, integrity, vision. Most people who don't prosper break these principles daily without even realizing it. They lack discipline when dealing with money. They spend more than they earn. They complain instead of being grateful. They sabotage themselves emotionally. And they even blame the system, others, or even God for the scarcity they experience. But the Bible shows that God has already given clear instructions. He has no problem prospering anyone. The problem lies with those who are unwilling to follow the path. And the path is narrow, not because it's impossible, but because it requires awareness. It requires a new level of thinking. And this new level isn't achieved overnight. It needs to be built with daily practice. So I want to challenge you now to start creating habits that reflect the mindset of someone prosperous. Start your day with gratitude. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. Be thankful for what you already have, even if it seems small. This gratitude changes your mental frequency. Then affirm with conviction, I am becoming someone prepared for great responsibilities. My mind is open to new possibilities. Money flows wisely to me. Do this for 30 days straight. You'll notice your worldview shift, your energy shifts, your behavior shifts, and when behavior shifts, results follow. But don't stop there. Start paying attention to how you talk about money. Every time you say, this is too expensive, change it to, I haven't chosen to pay for it yet. This takes you out of the victim position and puts you in the position of choice. Prosperous people don't say something is expensive. They analyze value, not price. They decide consciously, not impulsively. And this difference changes everything. Now, another secret that comes straight from the Bible is the principle of multiplication. God never gave something ready-made. He always gave a seed. And the question is, what have you done with the seeds you've already received? Your time, your knowledge, your talents, your energy, your connections, all of these are seeds. And if planted wisely, they will bear fruit. But if wasted, they will turn into frustration. Jesus told the parable of the talents to teach just this. One received 5, another 2, and another 1. The first 2 multiplied and received praise. The last buried the talent and was rebuked. What does this story teach? That God expects movement. He expects multiplication. It doesn't matter how much you have today. What matters is what you are doing with it. And here's something powerful. Poverty often isn't a lack of resources. It's a lack of initiative. Because there are people who have little but multiply it, and there are people who have a lot but bury it. The difference lies in attitude. So if you truly want to attract wealth, start acting like someone who already is. Be excellent at what you do. Be punctual, be reliable, be intentional, and most importantly, have a vision. Those who don't know where they want to go waste any money they receive. And speaking of vision, I'll say it again, prosperity follows those with purpose. Money seeks direction. It's attracted to clarity. So take time to write down your vision. Where do you want to be in a year? In 5 years? What will you build with the resources you desire to receive? How will you multiply what comes your way? When you answer these questions seriously, your mind begins to work to bring you answers, opportunities, and paths, because your brain is designed to seek coherence between what you say and what you live. If you begin to declare a new identity and commit to it, your mind begins to eliminate sabotage and develop strategies. Now say out loud, "My vision is strong, my purpose is clear. Wealth is coming to me because I am becoming the one who can carry it." Repeat this often. Write it down somewhere. And if you want to reinforce it even further, add, "My vision attracts my prosperity." This fixes the content in your mind and strengthens your resolve. A prosperous mind isn't formed by what you learn once. It's shaped by the repetition of correct ideas, by breaking old patterns, and by daily alignment with principles of wisdom. There's no point in hearing about prosperity only when you're in the red, when you're short on cash, or when you're in despair. Prosperity is a way of life. It's a way of seeing the world, of acting in small ways, of thinking big even when you're in a simple situation. Let's now look at another biblical character who clearly expresses this relationship between purpose, vision, and prosperity. Moses. He wasn't a rich man in the traditional financial sense, but he led a multitude, guided a nation, and had access to resources, strategies, and wisdom that changed the entire history of the people of Israel. Moses received direct instructions on how to organize, manage, build, and govern. This shows that prosperity is also leadership. It's management. It's a clear vision put into practice with discipline. When Moses leads the people out of Egypt, he doesn't leave empty-handed. The Bible says the people took with them the Egyptians' riches. But note that wealth wasn't for luxury or ostentation. It was for building something, to raise a new people, a new mindset, a new way of life. This reinforces the idea once again, God releases resources for those with a greater mission. And mission always comes before provision. Many wait for money to appear before taking action, but biblical characters moved by faith and vision. They made decisions in the invisible, and resources appeared along the way. The sea only parted after Moses touched it with his staff. Provision fell from the sky after the people trusted and advanced through the desert. In other words, those who want to prosper need to take action before the money arrives. They need to act like someone who already has a clear vision. This activates movement. This activates practical faith, and this calls upon the right resources. Let's understand another very important aspect, managing the mind, because there's no point in attracting opportunities if the mind is still trapped in scarcity. The mind of slavery doesn't recognize freedom even when it arrives. The people of Israel were physically freed from Egypt, but they still had the mindset of captivity. That's why they murmured, were afraid, complained, and wanted to go back. And that's why many of them didn't enter the promised land. It wasn't for lack of provision, it was for lack of a prepared mindset. This serves as a warning. God can open doors, but if your mind is still programmed for scarcity, you will sabotage everything yourself. Therefore, your primary responsibility is not to seek money, it is to seek inner transformation. Your mission is not to escape poverty, but to become someone with a rich consciousness. When this new identity forms within you, the external world begins to align with it. What was blocked begins to flow. What seemed distant begins to draw closer. And this transformation begins with small actions. For example, how do you handle the money you already have? Do you set it aside? Do you organize it? Do you honor what you receive? Are you clear about your income and expenses? Or do you live improvised lives? Because those who don't take good care of what they have show the universe and themselves that they're not yet ready for more. God wants to give you more, but He needs to see if you already know how to value what you've already received. Another biblical principle, generosity. Not as empty charity, but as a channel of fluidity. Every time you are generous consciously, you show that you are not attached to money. And more than that, you activate the cycle of abundance. When you give, You break the fear of lack. You say to your mind, I trust, I am supplied, I have more than I need. And this message goes deep into the subconscious. That's why emotionally rich people find it easy to give. Not because they have a lot, but because they no longer live in fear of loss. Meanwhile, those with a scarcity mindset hold on to every penny, live in fear, and therefore never break the cycle of limitation. The Bible shows that when you give with the right heart, the harvest multiplies. It's not a magic formula. It's a principle of return. Now observe, when you see someone prospering, what is your first thought? Admiration or envy? Inspiration or judgment? This reveals a lot about your inner structure. Those who criticize the wealth of others are saying, without realizing it, that they don't accept prosperity as something good. And what the mind rejects, it never attracts. So start celebrating those who prosper. Applaud sincerely. This cleanses your heart and makes room for you to prosper too. Say now, I celebrate the prosperity of others because I know mine is coming too. Speak with intention, with force. This is reprogramming. And if you want to make this more powerful, write in the comments, I celebrate and attract prosperity. This simple action changes everything, because when you cleanse your relationship with money and those who have money, you stop unconsciously sabotaging yourself. Let's talk about another remarkable character, Jacob. He wasn't born rich. On the contrary, he faced many hardships. But with vision, strategy, and persistence, he built his own prosperity. He understood the principles of multiplication, knew how to negotiate, and used wisdom. And even in the face of injustice and manipulation, he remained true to his beliefs. This reveals another secret. Prosperity requires patience and consistency. It doesn't happen overnight. Jacob worked for years and years without seeing immediate results, but he knew he was building something. This is a characteristic of prosperous people. They think long-term. While the poor in spirit live for the present, the rich in conscience build for tomorrow. They plant, cultivate, and wait for the harvest. And when it comes, it is lasting. If you want to experience true prosperity, you need to abandon the short-term mindset. You need to stop looking for shortcuts, quick fixes, and magic solutions. All of this only weakens your structure. But when you embark on the path of purpose, consistent work, and clarity of vision, then you become a tree, firm, strong, bearing fruit in its own time. And this time is different for everyone, so stop comparing yourself. The time of your prosperity doesn't depend on what others are experiencing. It depends on what you are building internally. If you continue developing, your time will come, and when it does, you will be ready to sustain it, because the worst thing that can happen is to prosper before you are prepared. This destroys more than it builds. That's why God withholds the blessing, until He sees that you are strong within. So repeat, I am in process. I am growing within. My prosperity is on its way. And continue acting like someone prosperous. Honor your word. Honor your commitments. Don't promise what you won't keep. Don't live by appearances. True prosperity is silent but consistent. Now, subscribe to the channel and press the like button. If you want to continue listening to more wealth and prosperity content, I'll leave a playlist on the screen right now. Click there. See you there. And when you start to prosper, come back here to this video and tell us about your experience. A hug.